Hello and welcome to the NAN Project's virtual workshop on the impact of social isolation on students. At the NAN Project, a big piece of our mission is to provide educators with the tools to help their students who may be struggling with mental health challenges and act as the bridge to get them to the supports and resources within their communities. Now, with self-isolation and school closures disrupting the schedules and routines of so many young people, it is more important than ever for teachers to be checking in on students and reaching out to those who need support. We hope you find this workshop useful and that you'll provide feedback at the end of this presentation in our survey. If you'd like to learn more about the NAN Project, visit us at www.thenanproject.org. We look forward to working with our partner schools once they reopen. Until then, stay safe and remember, there is help and there is hope. I'll now turn it over to my colleagues, Donna and Shilpa.
Hello, this is Donna Kausek, the Clinical Director of the NAN Project. Thank you for joining us. We want to offer you some practical information that your teachers and your staff can use to start a conversation with your students at this most difficult time. As a previous middle school teacher, I recognize the many concerns you may have for your students and their families. The majority of my clinical work has been with children and families, and our hope today is to share some best ways to support you and your students.
I'm Shilpa Thirukkovalur, and I'm a peer coordinator at the NAN Project. I have a younger sister who is currently doing classes online, and I've been seeing firsthand how she has been affected by this transition. I'm happy to be working with Donna and Jake to present this webinar.
Here's our agenda for today's webinar. For this presentation, we will not go into our suicide prevention training, but we will continue the conversation about mental health in a safe way. We hope to recognize the challenges of today's students. We want to validate those experiences and provide you with the appropriate responses and the resources that are available. We are offering suggestions and strategies on how to best support schools and their students in this time of transition and uncertainty. We value your feedback. At different times during our short presentation, we will ask you to jot down your thoughts and include them in your evaluation. We look forward to hearing from you.
Today is a different world for teens, and it's a big time of uncertainty. Now we know that schools are going to be closed until September. This time has been a roller coaster ride for students and families. Students are having to deal with not having a regular schedule, not seeing their friends and teachers, and are unable to do any extracurricular activities like drama club, sports, band, etc. Maybe their prom or graduation is canceled, which are significant milestones for many kids and families. To add to this, they are most likely quarantining at home, so they don't have an escape from parents or siblings and the stress of family. Having a routine really helps kids manage their well-being, but it's hard to establish one during quarantine. Routines can help kids stay organized and reduce stress. School provides an important and solid structure for kids, and losing this routine may be difficult to cope with. Additionally, students are having to adjust to engaging with school and teachers and staff in ways they aren't familiar with. All of these issues can be overwhelming and can contribute to mental health challenges and exacerbate existing ones.
This is a poll we recently conducted with a group, and different teachers and school personnel have reported to us anecdotally what it is that kids are missing. The results reflect pretty much what you would expect. The first response that kids reported as missing the most is socializing with their friends outside of school. The next was missing school activities, the after-school curricular activities. Third was the routine of the school day. And the very last thing was learning in the classroom. Does this sound about right for your students? Please take a moment to jot down what your students are saying they miss the most during this time of online learning. We know from our poll questions and what teachers report that kids are really missing out on a lot of activities. The effect of that is lots of emotion, lots of feelings, or no expression of feelings at all. You may have noticed this in some of your students. Today we will talk about responding to those emotions. This is hard. This has to be so difficult for school staff, especially in the context of online classes. We want to help by identifying some of the emotions you may encounter and how to best respond. For students, what do you think the loss of the school day, the loss of friends, the loss of sports, just the loss of the ritual of getting up and going to school, what does that look like? Although some students report they are happy, relieved, others express profound disappointment. As you know, kids can present in many different ways. You'll have some students that are up, sitting at their laptops at 9 a.m. and ready to take on their classroom. But not all. Some kids are going to be tired, angry, worried about their friends, worried about their grades, worried about their family, worried about the health of their family. And as school nurses would tell us, some students will be reporting some physical complaints, headaches, stomach aches, may report poor sleep and appetite, may be tearful. And other students may be reporting feelings of no control at all, feeling totally helpless. They may report being afraid, anxious, heart racing, all the natural responses to a stressful situation. And yet there will be other students who will appear sad, withdrawn, just totally hopeless. You may see that these students are exhibiting a change in personality, acting out of character, with few social connections. Some students are reporting a loss of hope for the future, just stuck in slow motion. What does it matter anyway? Any recent losses will be activated. Think of the ACEs kids. The Adverse Childhood Experience Study looks at the physical toll of trauma over the lifetime. The results showed an earlier death for folks who endured trauma as a child. For our students today, any past history of trauma may be exaggerated. But don't forget, kids are resilient. And there are actually some students who are expressing feelings of grief and loss. They miss that favorite teacher. The inability to say thank you or goodbye to teachers and their classmates. Some even say they want what's left in their locker. Some students regret saying harsh words and not having the opportunity to apologize. Students are experiencing the loss of what encompasses school. Greeting the school bus driver, seeing the school resource officer, jokes at lunch, getting an A in a test, the joy in learning, the joy in being challenged. They're missing field trips, being an 8th grader, and all the privileges attached. And they are exhibiting all normal responses to an abnormal, stressful situation. What about missing graduation? Especially if you are the first one in your family to graduate from high school and don't get the chance to walk across the stage to retrieve your diploma. No junior prom, no driver's ed, no end of the year celebrations. For some students or student athletes, it's a loss of their identity. It's really how they see themselves in the world. Kids have a right to feel they're missing out on traditions and rituals. Think about your own significant moments. Imagine what it would feel like to have those taken away. John Krasinski has made a video to try and help students get through these difficult times, and we'd like to show you a few minutes of that. If any of you haven't seen Some Good News with John Krasinski, it's well worth sitting through. He brings a lot of joy to a very unhappy situation for most of our kids. But think about yourselves for a minute. We are all sad and disappointed, especially sad about missing those special moments with students we have known and nurtured for years. Think about how you're coping with all the changes. We are feeling about the same things as our students are. Talking with students about what has helped you, what has guided you, will help them. How do you start that dialogue? To help you start the conversation, we wanted to offer ask, listen, and respond. We ask with an open mind. We listen attentively, and we respond respectfully. These steps will flow together to create a natural conversation. One supportive conversation leads into another. We hope to have an open dialogue with our students. We know that being at home and not being able to see your students in person can pose particular challenges to being able to have these conversations. There are ways to connect by calling, texting, FaceTiming, Zoom meetings, and more. And at the same time, we realize that this can be a roadblock for some in reaching their students. Here are some questions that may be helpful. I've noticed that you've been talking about your sleep schedule being different or changes in your appetite. Tell me more about those. What can I help you with right now? Tell me about a typical day now that you're not in school. What has worked in the past during a difficult time? Here are a few more open-ended questions. We try to avoid questions that can be responded to with a yes or a no. What's the hardest part about being away from school? Another one, how are your friends dealing with social distancing? We often find that students can talk about their friends more than they can talk about themselves. Remember, you have 2 ears to listen and 1 mouth to respond. This is a good opportunity to show your active listening skills, especially when you are connecting virtually. Show you are paying attention with statements such as, I understand. Tell me more. Oh, thank you for explaining that. Oh, okay, now I see. Be sure you are withholding judgment. Be reflective. Ask clarifying questions and summarize what you heard. A good thing to remember is the 80-20 rule. Listen 80% of the time and speak 20% of the time. Offer responses to help manage the situation. A situation where the student feels they have no control. No control feels like a boat without an anchor, and school was that anchor. The world looks different today, and it will look different this summer, and it will look different when the kids come back in the fall. How can we help students emotionally prepare? How can you help build resilience? Here are some techniques to keep students grounded. You can find these on our webpage with specific instructions. They include deep breathing, guided meditation, progressive muscle relaxation, and ask the students, what's worked well in the past? There are many calming apps available for free at this time that you can recommend, 2 of which are Headspace and Calm. Engage in active problem solving with your students. Identify aspects of the situation that the students do have some control of and respond appropriately. For example, identify, maintain, and utilize supportive relationships. Get plenty of sleep. Get outside. Exercise. Engage in activities you enjoy. Later in this presentation, we'll have a few tips for your families. This is an extraordinary situation. How do you want your students to remember this time? What about this pandemic will you want your students to remember and possibly share with their own children? What will be significant to them? Maybe it's that trusted teacher or counselor who showed he or she cared and listened. Remember, kids are resilient. For the vast majority of students, this slide may not be relevant. But if you do see a student with day-to-day emotional dysregulation or impairment, and that student is experiencing much duress, reach out for professional help. If you are worried, know your school policy. Know your school crisis plan. Be prepared with your responses. Think out loud with the student and name the supports in place. Are parents interested and involved? Is a community-based therapist involved? Is a trusted adult available? A teacher, a coach, parent of a friend, or a family member? As a caregiver, a teacher or adjustment counselor or guidance counselor can provide perspective and assurance. We can help create a narrative of hope. We can offer crisis phone numbers. We can offer the text-to-talk line. We can offer the local emergency services program, local emergency room, or 911. This is not a training to assess for suicidal ideation, but we want to offer this slide in case you have concerns for your student.
Here are some helpful tips for students and families. Be present. Don't worry about being perfect. You as teachers and parents don't need to have the best response for your kids about what is going on. As long as you are there to listen and support them, that is enough. One thing you can do is set a schedule. Trying to create some structure for your student can help them cope better with the loss of routine from school and school-related activities. Give them regular responsibilities. For example, walking the dog every morning or doing schoolwork from 10 to 12 every day. At the same time, be flexible. Research has shown us that everyone's focus is being affected by social distancing. Give kids a break if they are not following their schedule to a T. To go along with this, maintain healthy habits, like regular eating and sleeping schedules. Healthy in this case does not mean just veggies all the time or restricting all junk food, but rather to try to have a balance and variety of food available for kids when possible. Many schools are continuing reduced and free lunch programs for kids. Additionally, eating meals at the same time can create some needed structure. Similarly, setting bedtimes and wake-up times every day can help kids maintain a regular sleeping schedule. Creating this structure will make it easier for kids to cope with the uncertain and fluctuating parts of their lives. Another important tip is to stay as calm as you can, because kids can pick up on your moods. Be available for questions and to provide any new information. It's okay for teachers and caregivers to feel anxious about the situation. It's important to find tactics and coping skills that work for you to manage your own anxiety so you can better support your students. If you are interested in more resources for caregivers, please visit our website at thenanproject.org for our caregiver resource guide. Next, we are going to show you a video of one of our peers, Ellie, who demonstrates some great coping skills to use during this COVID crisis.
Hi, my name's Ellie and I'm a peer coordinator for the NAN Project. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've been up to being stuck in quarantine for the past month. For those of you who don't know me, I am an extrovert. When I heard about the severity of the virus and how we need to take part of this serious action by social distancing, I panicked. For almost a decade now, I have suffered from self-harming behaviors. When I was in my teenage years, this was a very pressing issue my family had to deal with. I was constantly self-harming and I couldn't stop. I lost my sense of freedom due to my self-harming behaviors, meaning I couldn't be left home alone or even in different rooms of the house for too long of a time. It was exhausting. I was in and out of hospitalizations due to my self-harm addiction, but I now know that my parents did everything to keep me safe because they love me. That past life that I lived is behind me now, and I'm a completely different person today. But I still get anxious about being able to stay safe. That is my number one priority. Over the years, I have learned to lean on the support in my life. Some of these supports include my regular therapy sessions with different mental health providers, I also would hang out with one of my friends almost every day because they have personalities that can get me out of any bad mood. I also have been going to the gym with one of my friends, as it is a good way to draw the negative feelings out of my body. I call my parents regularly, as they live in Florida, and I try to go to bed at the same time every night because I tend to get more impulsive the later it gets. Lastly, I love being outside. Being in touch with nature really brings the best out of me. I forget about all the worries in my life and focus on how beautiful Earth is. I always think my issues aren't as bad when I feel in touch with nature. The outdoors helps distract me. Keeping busy is the key to Ellie's success. When places started to close due to the coronavirus, it was a really big realization to me that I'm going to need to find new ways to cope and stay occupied. My parents and I brainstormed ways I could stay busy. My mother bought me a bunch of arts and crafts, workout gear, a new yoga mat, and books for me. My father helped create a schedule or a spreadsheet that schedules out each day, so I have a routine in place. This helped a lot, as I was very worried how I could manage my self-harm urges with so much free time. Before the coronavirus, I was almost never home. I always liked being out and about. Being in quarantine has really helped me grow as an individual because I feel like I'm getting stronger and stronger every day. I now realize that it can be really relaxing to stay home. I have created a new lifestyle and adapted to having more free time. I have been trying to do at least one art project every week to keep my brain active, and on top of that, my friend and I have created a daily workout routine that we do over FaceTime. During all of this free time, I have really tried to reflect on my life and how I can improve myself. Though the days aren't always easy, it's been a time of growth for me. In high school, I wasn't able to control my impulsivities when I had free time. Now I'm able to sit with my emotions and really ride them out like a wave. It's been hard, but I am so proud of how far I've been able to stay safe this past month during quarantine. My biggest piece of advice is to create a schedule. When you're able to have designated tasks to do at certain times, it occupies your mind and keeps it from wandering. Talk to a loved one or friend to create ideas for your schedule. I hope everyone is able to learn something new about this quarantine, or during this quarantine. Hang in there. We will all be able to move forward and live lavishly soon. Thank you for listening to me share, and if you'd like some more info on what the NAN Project does and has to offer, check out our website at www.thenanproject.org/COVID_19_resources. We will see you next time, and until then, stay safe, and remember, there is hope, and there is hope. Thank you.
Next, here are a few helpful resources if you would like some further information about how to support kids during COVID-19. Thank you for listening to our presentation. Please visit us at thenanproject.org for more information and additional COVID-19 resources. If you have any suggestions or questions for future programs related to supporting students' mental health, please email us at jkavanaugh@thenanproject.org or dkausek@thenanproject.org. We would also appreciate it if you took a moment to fill out our evaluation form. We look forward to seeing you in the classroom. Remember, kids are resilient. There is help and there is hope. Thank you again.